Wow, I wish I knew. So, when we talk about melatonin is actually produced all over the body, not just in the brain. However, the pineal gland in the back of the brain secretes melatonin in response to the sunlight, and that's the circadian rhythm alignment. And that's what really has a lot to do with going to sleep. Now, melatonin itself is an antioxidant. It's involved in a lot of other reactions. But as far as sleep, it's not until the concentrations in the brain increase due to a lack of blue light in the eyes that lead to this whole cascade of events. But melatonin is like the starter pistol, the trigger for all of these cascade of events to start going and for your neurophysiology to essentially change. What we know is that from the time the sun goes down until the time you wake up in the morning, your pineal gland will secrete approximately 6 micrograms. So most things that you think about are in milligrams. Like if you're taking supplements and vitamins and stuff, those are in milligrams. So this is micrograms, another decimal place below that. About 6 micrograms from the time the sun goes down until you wake up in the morning, which is approximately when the sun would come up. So there's a couple of questions. If you take a 1 milligram tablet of melatonin, well, that's already more than 6, right? Obviously, so that's more than you need. But if you take a 1 milligram tablet, does 1 milligram of it get in your brain? Almost certainly not, right? Like it's going to go to other parts of your body. So how much is going to get in your brain? We don't have any way of knowing unless we start dipping needles into people's brains to figure out how much melatonin is getting in their bloodstream. So it's safe to assume that a child's brain would secrete less melatonin than an adult's. Smaller brain, smaller everything. Why would they need more of that hormone? But even if it's consistent, about 6 milligrams, you're looking at over 10 to 12 hours. So to take our example again, well, if you take a 1 milligram tablet and half of that gets in your brain, you can say, well, that's 0.5 milligrams. Now you're 5 micrograms, so isn't that right? Well, no, that's all the melatonin their brain needs for the entire night, and they're getting it all immediately. The problem with any hormone is that if you super concentrate a hormone, you decrease the body's production of that hormone, and you decrease the body's response to that hormone, because pretty much everything in the body, but hormones bind to receptors, and the receptors actually go away if there's an excess of whatever they receive. So a metaphor, I can't remember where. Actually, I don't know if I made it up or if I read it somewhere. I feel like I read it somewhere. So someone in the audience can point it out to me if I read it somewhere and they're familiar with it. But there's this metaphor, like if for receptors and hormones. So let's say that the receptor, that's the substrate. That's the thing that we're trying to get into our body. So let's say that the only thing people live off of is pizza. And there are cars driving around the streets that are pizza delivery men. So these are proteins that are carrying around these hormones to give to us. And our house is a cell. So if you lived in a neighborhood of 1,000 houses, and the only way the pizza delivery guy stopped at your house, or the only way you got the pizza, is if the pizza delivery guy stops at your house and rings your doorbell. Well, if there's one pizza delivery guy and he's driving around a neighborhood with 1,000 houses, you would cover your house with doorbells. These are receptors. If there's 1,000 pizza delivery guys running around 100 houses, you would get rid of all your doorbells, except like maybe 1 or 2 that are kind of hidden where only a couple of the guys know where they are, because you don't want, like you don't need it. So your body is a smart machine. It doesn't make anything it's getting for free. If you put melatonin in for free, it quits making melatonin. If you put more melatonin in than your body needs, It's going to reduce the number of receptors. Like, why spend the time to develop, use the proteins and all the amino acids to build this protein structure to be able to get this molecule if there's so much of it around that you just don't need it. So that's the truth with any hormone. That's the truth if you're talking about testosterone or thyroid or growth hormone or estrogen. Melatonin is the hormone that acts just like that. So with kids, I think it's safe to assume, and again, the only way to know is if we biopsy kids' brains, which is unethical, so we'll never know this answer. But, with animal studies and so forth, we can assume with reasonable certainty that they probably need about half as much melatonin as an adult. So they need about 3 micrograms over the course of 10 to 12 hours. And so that's why our product basically has about 2 I can't say exactly how much, but it's in the neighborhood of 2 micrograms, with the idea of we're not trying to replace the brain's ability or need to produce melatonin. We're just giving the initiation dose in case there's been a lot of bright light in the kids' eyes. If they haven't been blocking the blue light, well, let's give them a little bit, because that's the starter pistol that's going to change all the chemistry in the brain, and then that chemistry in the brain is going to change all the other things that are going to make them fall asleep. So let's give them a small dose of it, something that's going to be gone in, honestly, probably an hour or two. It's going to be gone, and their brain has to keep all of the cycles going. And then we create natural sleep because it's your child's brain leading to the sleep and not something that you're giving them.